for office in Park County, we invited every candidate who made the primary ballot, either through the signature process or through their county assembly process, whichever. And so if there's a candidate you're not seeing tonight up here, it's them that chose not to come. We invited all of them. The one exception to that is Mel Cassell, our current county clerk. She had a personal emergency come up. She intended to be here tonight. But Amy Flint will speak on her behalf in a little bit. So for candidates that are not here tonight, you'll have to do your own research, find their web pages, whatever you can do, and make your own decision on how you should vote June 30th. I did microphones for many years as an air traffic controller, so I'm not unfamiliar with them, but this one's just a little flaky. We'll try that. Okay. So our format tonight is going to be to present each of the county offices in alphabetical order. And within that office, for the candidates that are here tonight, we will do those candidates in alphabetical order. That was just easier than drawing straws or whatever. The candidates will each be given 3 minutes to present their platform. And then we will be asking a few questions that we have prepared for the candidates. We're not going to be taking any questions from the floor tonight, but at the end of all the presentations, there's going to be an open house for a while. We have the room till at least 8, and I'm sure there's nothing after us, so if we stay till 9, that's fine. So you'll be free to wander the room and speak to whoever you want to speak to. And you can present your questions to them at that time. Again, thank you for coming. We hope this evening is helpful for you in determining your choices, both at the primary election in June and then from those winners at the general election in November. I hope to see you at both of those because I've been an election judge here for many, many years, and I like the in-person voting myself. But anyway, just get those ballots in however you do it, and make sure it's only your ballot and your signature, because we do check those things. So in Colorado, if you're affiliated with a party on the voter rolls, you're only going to get that one ballot. If you're not affiliated with any party, if you consider yourself an independent, you're going to get both ballots, but you can only return one of them. You can't vote for sheriff on the Republican ballot and coroner on the Democratic ballot. That's not allowed. You have to pick which one you want to vote for. Considering the state races, that may be important to some of you because you may want to pick somebody from the list of governor candidates. I have found in my life, and I've lived in 24 of the states, being a military guy, that local politics to me are much more important than state politics. These people have control over your life, your building codes, your housing ordinances, that type of thing, local taxes. So I encourage people to pay attention to the local stuff. The governor gets all the big TV time, but these people will control what you do with your home. So I will try to introduce all the candidates. Monica Jones, running for assessor. Tyreen, and she is running for assessor as well. Nope. Commissioner, yes. Move from the A's to the C's. Truman Esmond, also running for commissioner. David Kintz, coroner. And Rob Shearer, got it right, okay, also running for coroner. Mark, what's your last name? Noel, okay. And he is running for sheriff. And then Steve Spodiak for sheriff. And then Amy Flint running for treasurer. And Amy Flint will also speak briefly for Mel Cassell, who couldn't be here. So you all are free to take seats if there's room for you to do so.
Very skinny. Yeah, big skinny cups.
And again, like I say, we have a nice organized young lady down here with some colored cards. And so we are going to give each of these candidates 3 minutes to speak on whatever they want to speak on. They can tell us about their kids' birthdays or, where they want to see Park County go in the future. So the first will be the assessor candidates, and that will be Monica Jones.
Okay, let's see if I can do this. So, good evening. First, I would like to thank Bailey Like-Minded United for organizing and hosting this event and inviting me to participate. I would also like to thank all of you for coming out here tonight and listening to us talk about ourselves. My name is Monica Jones. I am the current county assessor. I began my tenure in Park County in 1987 when my husband and I bought our first home just up the road here in Friendship Ranch. There we started our family, volunteered in the community, and built our life. In 2001, we purchased land in Hartselle where we built our home, raised our kids, and still enjoy everything Park County has to offer. I have worked several jobs in Park County, but this is my home, and my current position, as challenging as it is at times, is one of my proudest accomplishments. Over the last 7 years, with the help of staff, my office has made great strides forward in correcting outdated data on properties in the county, confirming sales by utilizing updated aerial and on-site inspections, as well as visiting properties that have not been seen for a number of years. I have implemented a website that gives property owners, realtors, and the general public easy access to public information. The appraisers use mobile devices in the field, downloaded with information necessary to complete site inspections for sales confirmations or new construction. I contracted with subject matter experts for commercial appraisal and statistical analysis to provide the best, most accurate values to Park County property owners. Working with staff, we have developed strong guidelines for evaluating land and residential improvements for consistency in data. The assessor's office is statute-driven, and I follow all laws, legislative changes, and the Colorado Constitution. Colorado saw a record increase in property values in 2023, which was difficult on its citizens, especially here in Park County. My office saw an unprecedented number of appeals. I don't look at that as a negative. The office was able to talk to many people and communicate what our processes are. We were able to correct data. I implemented online appeals, allowing property owners to research sales, pick comparable sales, and submit appeals from the comfort of their own home. That may have been one of my mistakes. The responsibility of the assessor's office are confusing for some. I don't determine your taxes, only value your property. The assessor's office assessments are based on clear and defined statutory requirements. Nothing is arbitrary. I have always and will continue to strive to educate the public and make the process of assessment clear, understandable, and easily accessible. I appreciate your time tonight, and I am asking for your vote in the June 30th primary to move forward to the general election. Thank you.
Next will be Tyreen Cook.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for being here tonight. My name is Tyreen Cook, and I am joined by my husband, Brian Cook, and I just want to say thank you for the invite and for hosting us here tonight. I'm just going to go over a brief of who I am for those who don't know me and who don't follow me on social media. I'm someone who believes in honesty, humility, hard work, and accountability. I believe leadership starts with listening to people, not talking over them. I believe public service is exactly that, service to the public, and that elected officials should never forget who they work for, which is all of you. I am not a polished career politician. I'm a real person who has lived life, made mistakes, learned from them, and continue to grow. I believe growth matters. I believe people should be judged by their character, their work ethic, and how they treat others. I care deeply about community. I care about neighbors helping neighbors. I care about respectful conversation, even when we disagree. I especially believe at the local level, politics should never become more important than the people. Many of you know me as someone who shows up, whether it's community event, volunteering, supporting local organizations, talking with residents, or simply listening to concerns. I believe that being present matters. I serve on several local boards and I have over 1,500 hours of volunteer community service just here in Park County alone. I'm also someone who asks questions. I believe informed citizens create stronger communities. I don't think government should operate behind closed doors or make people feel unheard or dismissed. People deserve transparency, facts, and leaders willing to have hard conversations respectfully and openly. At the end of the day, I'm not here because I think I'm better than anyone else. I'm here because I truly love this community. I believe our county deserves leaders who stay connected to the people, and I believe common sense, kindness, and accountability still matter. No matter your political affiliation, I hope people see this campaign is about bringing people together, encouraging respectful dialogue, and making sure every citizen feels seen, heard, and valued. Once again, thank you for having me here tonight. I really enjoyed just having the invite to be here and being able to speak in front of all of you. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Tyreen. Truman, come on up.
Thank you very much. Oh, wobbly?
Yes.
Better? All right. Thank you. Thank you very much for coming out tonight. My name's Truman Esmond, and I'm running for County Commissioner in District 3, and I'm your Democratic candidate for that office. So Susan and I have been living in Park County now, just about a couple miles north from where my dad taught me how to fly fish a little over 40 years ago. Park County has always been where I call my Colorado without a ski pass. So what we need, I plan, excuse me, this is still the first one, so we're getting our runs here. So I'm running because I believe that I can truly make a difference by working with all of you, with the county commissioners, and making a real impact for Park County. That starts, as everybody has said before, with accountability. For over 35 years, I've been building accountable systems for businesses, partnerships, entire industries, and critically, working with the communities and the government, both with the state of Colorado and at the national level, for both insurance, healthcare, and all kinds of other issues dealing with sensitive information and communities. So I know that we can bring our community together and solve some real problems for the future of Park County. Secondly, for the affordability and quality of life in our county. I volunteer for the South Park Food Bank, and I see the bifurcation economy we have with those families that are dealing with food inconsistency on a regular basis, often over 85 families in a given weekend here in Park County. So that's quite a bit. For those of us that can afford it, the quality of life and what we moved up here for is increasingly harder to attain with mismanagement of our resources, of our traffic, and of our tourism to provide the best opportunities for our county. And lastly, our county budgets and our county services. We can do this. We can deliver the things and services that we need by delivering the budgets and by clearly focusing on a strategy. Without a strategy, a budget is simply an arbitrary list of expenses, not accountable to a goal and to variations into what the public needs and wants for a safe and successful future for Park County. So again, my name is Truman Esmond. I believe Park County is a beautiful place to find common ground. I'm running for County Commissioner, and I hope to earn your support. Thank you.
That takes us to the coroner's office, and we'll have David Kintz up first.
So we start this with effective equipment. Good times. So thanks for having me. I try to make as many of the public forums as I can. Of course, my name is Dave Kentz, for those of you who don't know me, and I have been your county coroner for the past 16 years. So in the coroner's office, a lot of people don't really know what we do, and they don't really want to know what we do, right? Until you need us. And so something I want everyone to understand is what I typically do is give you a quick education. The coroner's office responds to all deaths in Park County, and we do an investigation on every death in Park County. And that is so that that individual's story is told. So in my office, I have a group of 23 people. 18 of those are volunteers. And those volunteers run aside us to go to scenes and to be with survivors, to be with families. We developed that program in 2016, and it is going strong today to support our community at their height of loss. So, as far as the investigators go and the deputy coroners, there's 5 of us. And we cover 365 every holiday, every evening. And people say, well, what does it take to be a coroner? Well, there are 3 levels of certification to be a coroner. There's a state level certification, which, if you've heard me speak before, you've heard me say is a joke. And then there is a national level of certification, and then there is a board level of certification. In our office, to work for me, within 18 months of your hire, you have to become nationally certified, which is registry certified by the American Board of Medical Legal Death Investigation. That is a massive undertaking of 57 different criteria that you have to prove proficient in, and you have to sit for a national test. So it is a lot of experience that has to be done. My people are all certified to that level that are in my office. And then myself, I am board certified by the American Board of Medical Legal Death Investigation. That's the highest level of death investigation that you can get. And we do that not for bragging rights, but we do that for the citizens, so that you know when you lose a friend, when you lose a family member, when you lose someone, that their death and their story is being told. And that is what we want to do. For 16 years, I've responded to the darkest days of so many of you in this county. And I'll tell you, there's been some rough days. And some of you in the audience can look back at me and we've seen those. We remember that day. We are here to serve the citizens and tell their story, no matter who likes it or doesn't like it. And we always will. I appreciate the support I've received over the last 16 years. We've been very open and transparent for all those years of what our office does. You can get online and look at our annual reports. You can come to our public meetings. You can call us anytime, even if you have a loved one die somewhere else, if you have a question. And I want to continue that legacy that we've built. So I humbly ask for your support for 4 more years. Thank you.
And Rod Shearer, running for the same office.
Hi, everybody. So a lot of places in this country, the coroner's office is actually just a department of a sheriff's office or a prosecutor's office, or even the local medical authority if you have medical services, right? The reason so many places do it differently is that there are obvious conflicts of interest when joining a coroner's office to any of those things. You don't want a sheriff or a prosecutor signing off on cause and manner of death. You don't want the local medical authority defending itself by potentially fudging these things. Now, we all know what's been going on in this country. There's a very small political minority who've decided that loyalty to a story delivered from on high is the price of any and all political positions under them, right? So what I want people to think about, not just in this race, but across the ballot, is whether you really believe the people who are running are acting independently or not. Do we want a commission that is a unanimous group making decisions behind closed doors, or do we want them to be debating things in public? Do we want a sheriff who is a public servant or one who's a political operative? Do we want a clerk or a treasurer who is taking marching orders from the commission? And do we want a county commissioner who you can trust to do these things independently? So that's why I'm in this race. I thank you for your time and your attention, and I'll leave it to everybody else for the rest of the night. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Rob. That brings us to Mark Knoll.
I'm going to try something here.
Didn't like that.
Turn it on. Yeah, we'll just turn it off. So, I have a very weird resume, and part of that is being a classically trained baritone, so hopefully everybody can hear me in the back of the room. But I'm here running for sheriff. I have, as I said, a varied background, and I'm going to tell you about a little bit of this and show you what I'm trying to bring to a service at the county level. I started off in law enforcement in Georgia in the 1990s. Before 9/11, before the militarization of police departments, back when we made a lot of data-driven decisions. We were evidence-based policing, community policing, and real police did not wear masks. We even carried cards, so if anybody asked who we were, we could hand it to them and say, here's the number for internal affairs if you want to file a complaint. Make sure you spell my name correctly. But after that, I ended up going to join some research groups at Dartmouth College where we were building training programs for emergency first responders. And after 9/11, a lot of that was also focused on training first responders on, I became basically an expert in WMD hazmat and incident response. But one of the other things we learned here is that because there's so much turnover in public safety, that constant quality education and in-service training is absolutely critical to deliver the services that everybody needs. In a lot of cases, the turnover is such that 80% of your workforce, your officers, are gone within 10 years. So training has to be happening constantly. Then I decided to go to law school. So I practiced as a litigator for a long time, including practicing constitutional law in pro bono matters. And so if I tell you that I plan to be a constitutional sheriff, that means that I have actually read and understood the Constitution of the United States, and I have studied and practiced constitutional law. But in the last 15 years, I've become an expert in legal technology. I've formed 2 startups. A second one was sold a year and a half ago. And so I know how to run an organization on a tight budget and be effective. And what we need here is in a county like Park County, where we have not been able to pass the public safety funding initiatives, we have to run very high quality services on a low budget where we have few resources. And that's going to require creative thinking from all of these different fields. So that's why I'm running for sheriff. I'm happy to answer any questions and hope to gain your support. Thanks.
Thanks, Mark. We have the sheriff candidate, Steve Spodiak.
Can those of you in the back hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, very good. I'm not going to use the microphone either. Like Tim said, I'm Steve Spodiak, your Republican candidate for Park County Sheriff here this evening, and I'd like to thank you all for joining us, coming out in the much needed rain this evening, and thank you to those of you who put this event on this evening so that we can get together and discuss some things. So I'd like to tell you who I am and give you a little bit of my background, because I believe what you're doing is you're hiring me for this job. So when I look at hiring somebody, some of the things that I look at is their credentials, their experience, and their character. So first and foremost, I'm a husband and a father. I'm a coach here in the Bailey area. I'm a Colorado native, and I've been in and around Park County for most of my life, specifically here in the Bailey area. I'm a graduate of Platte Canyon High School here, and also Adams State University in the San Luis Valley. I have 2 bachelor's degrees from Adams State University. I have a master's certificate from the University of Virginia, and I graduated from the FBI National Academy Session 293. Currently, I am your undersheriff, which I've been doing for the last 7.5 years. I have 22 years of law enforcement experience, and 14 of those years are here in Park County. I have worked in or directly overseen every division within the Park County Sheriff's Office, and I think that's important because it's an interesting and different organization. We're medium-sized by classifications, but our population is small and we are spread out over a huge area. So I've had over 1,000 hours of leadership training. I mentioned the FBI National Academy. I also attended the County Sheriffs of Colorado Undersheriffs Institute. I've completed all 3 of the FBI LEDA, which is Law Enforcement Executive Development Association classes, the FBI's Rocky Mountain Command College, and the International Association of Chiefs of Police Leadership and Police Organizations. I've been a detention deputy, a patrol deputy, a school resource officer, which I think is extremely important. I've been a canine handler, I've been a SWAT team member and a SWAT team leader. I have executive protection team experience. I've been a detective, and like I said, now I'm your undersheriff. So tonight, I'm asking you for your support in the primary election here at the end of June. And again, I'm Steve Spodyak. I look forward to talking to you this evening and answering your questions. Thank you.
And finally will be Amy Flint, and I'll let her choose whether she wants to present herself first or read a statement from Mel.
Who are you?
Just like that.
Okay, I'm going to try this. I will start with me. I am Amy Flint. I have been your treasurer for the last 3 years, and it has been a wonderful growing and learning experience. My personal background, or professional, moved out here in 1992, lived in Fairplay the whole time. I have 13 years of banking, all the way from the retail to loans to customer service. And then I was 18 years with the county Department of Human Services as the supervisor of public assistance. Here I am 3 years later as the treasurer. I'm very humbled to have the position, and I certainly respect and appreciate any support that I get from you guys. What does the treasurer do? The treasurer is usually, mostly, the banker of the county. So we take deposits, we take the department deposits. Any money that comes in that needs depositing, we deposit it. We send money out, and then the money that comes in goes back into the bank. We are the investor, so we invest all of our money. I'm not going to say spare, because we don't have a whole lot of that, but we do make the investments. And thank goodness, after 3 years plus, and a couple years before I started, we're at a 4.1% that we just invested in versus a 0.5%. So we're looking better. What else does the treasurer do? The treasurer manages the treasurer's deeds. So the tax lien sale that we do every year in November, and sell those taxes to investors who earn an interest rate that pay those taxes. So the taxes that aren't paid, our investors make us whole so that our whole county can keep running. So treasurer's deeds come around about 3 years, and they get purchased by that lawful holder or investor, and hopefully those taxes come back in. We also collect those taxes and process those taxes with a staff of 4 people. Myself, our chief deputy, Kathleen Wilson, who knows the most and supports everybody within the group. And stop. All right, hang on. If I can read Mel's, it's pretty small. So in Mel's statement here, can you hear me still? Mel says, good evening everyone, and welcome. My name is Mel Castle, and I have proudly served as your clerk and recorder since October of 2022. Since taking office, one of my top priorities has been making sure every member of my staff has the tools, training, and support they need to succeed in their position. Our motor vehicle department recently underwent a major system upgrade. While there certainly have been a few hiccups along the way, our staff has consistently worked together to find solutions and keep services moving forward. And when additional assistance is needed, they remain patient and persistent, even when wait times can be long. And she has said, thank you for your patience when that occurs. In the recording department, everything we record is by state statutes and office policy. We process and record a wide variety of important documents, including deeds, marriage and death certificates, mining claims, and many others. Elections are maybe the most important responsibility of our office, and they are consistently evolving. The rules and statutes change regularly, and staying currently on those changes is truly a full-time job in itself. Election law must be followed exactly as written. There is no room for bending, breaking, or misinterpreting these statutes. We are fortunate to have dedicated election judges who assist with the process, including varying signatures, opening ballots, scanning ballots, and carrying out many other important duties. If you are ever interested in learning more, I encourage you to come observe the process firsthand and see the care and integrity that goes into every election. One of the things I am most proud of is the feedback we receive from the public. I have heard many compliments about how friendly, knowledgeable, and helpful the staff in my office are, especially compared to years past. This means a great deal to me because the success of this office is truly due to the hardworking and dedicated team I have beside me every day. Thank you all for your continued support.
All right. So there was a group of 5 or 6 people that worked to put this evening together for you folks. Although sometimes you see an open forum with questions from the floor, that can many times be difficult to manage. And so we did some research, local social media posts, that type of thing, to find out what's of interest to our local citizens. And our committee has come up with a list of questions for each of these offices. And so we're going to go back in the same order, alphabetically, through these offices, and just present the questions that our committee has come up with. And these candidates were not given these in advance. The list was just finalized yesterday, so I didn't even see them till this morning. And so this will be off the cuff for these candidates to answer the questions that we felt were important to this community. So we will begin with Monica. So Monica, the Republican Party Central Committee here in Park County has censored you for, among other things, disregard for party loyalty, supporting Democrats overtly or openly. How would you respond to that statement?
I can probably do this without the. So, although that's completely disappointing to me and is, I did not break any bylaws, but yes, I did support a Democrat, Ashley Gerotto, several years ago. The reason I did that is because I felt she was the best candidate for the office. The part about, and the reasoning behind that was that I don't care what letter you have after your name, if you misuse public funds, I will never support you. And I have proof that misuse funds happened, and that is a breach of taxpayers' beliefs and taxpayers' rights. So.
Two more.
Oh, okay.
What legislative changes will affect the upcoming reappraisal process?
So the reappraisal process, for 2027, we have a new reappraisal going on. But that one's still affected by the one that's happening right now. In 2023, 2024, folks were given a break on their taxes. $55,000 of actual value was reduced in order to soften the blow from that 23 mass mass value increase. That was taken away in 25. And they went to two assessment rates for residential properties. They went to a school assessment, and then they went to a all other taxing authorities. The school assessment was 7.05. The all other authorities was 6.25. So then now for 2026, they've changed this up again. And you get 10% off the first 700,000 of your actual value. Then you have the two assessment rates, and now the assessment rates have gone from all other authorities 6.80, and the schools at 7.0. This is just for residences, but the schools don't contribute or don't get the 700,000, the 70,000, or whatever the 10% is off the actual value. So. In the long run, I'll just say my property is a test property for everything that we do in the office. We know where it sits, we know where it can happen. For 2027 or 2026 taxes payable in 2027, my value is going to decrease as it is by $30. But then I have a mill levy increase that's coming through, so actually my taxes are going to go up in the future. So it's caused a lot of confusion. It's hard on our software vendors. It's hard on the office to try and explain this to people. And we do have calculators on our website to be able to help at least a little bit.
Okay, and the last question. If someone wishes to appeal their property tax assessment, what information should they provide?
I could bring Paula up here for this one. We just were discussing this. A couple of things you have to, I would like people to remember is that we have to go off a data collection period. And our data collection period is normally 2 years behind what's happening. So what we're looking at in the 2025, 2026, which your values didn't change, 2025, 2026, is that we have to go back to the date of June 30th, 2024, and go 4 years before that and take all the sales that happened through those periods and then put an assessed value of what we think or what we believe your house would sell for as of June 30th, 2024. So that's one thing to bring in. Bring in sales from that data collection period. What I'm getting today is sales that happened in 25, sales that happened in 26. We know that sales are sloughing off in some areas a little bit, but it's not significant. But that's what I am getting in all my appeals that I'm seeing come through my office right now. Get the sales that happen then. If it supports a different value, let us know. If your data has, if your data is not correct on your house as you go through the website, let us know. If you feel there's something that we need to know, appeal. But remember, we go back in time. We don't do as of today. It would be impossible for us to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
The next office is county clerk, and there's 2 questions.
We don't have to come.
And again, we did not give these questions to the candidates early, so Mel Castle did not have a chance to answer these. The second one I could not answer for her, but the first one I can answer for her. There are many registered unaffiliated voters that would like to help with the election. How can they become election judges or watchers? And so the normal process, I've been an election judge in this county since 2004. I'm the senior guy on this side of the Kenosha Pass now. And for the first 18 years, we did not have any watchers at all. The last 4 to 6 years, with everything going on in the country, the watchers have become a very significant part of our election process. So judges are normally selected by your party chairs, either the Dem or the Republican, and we, by law, have to balance that. So if we have 2 Republicans, we have 2 Dems, whatever. If we don't get enough out of either party, then the county clerk can start taking unaffiliated voters to fill the rest of the roles that we need. We typically need about 7 people just in this room on any given election day. Well, I say this room, we don't do this room anymore, but now we're out at Shawnee because of the flooding they had in here a few years ago. Anyway, if you want to be an election judge or a watcher, watchers have to be associated with a specific issue or a specific candidate. So if you want to be a watcher for a candidate for, county clerk, you have to be selected by that candidate, and they turn your name into the county clerk's office. For judges, there is no requirement other than you submit your name to Mel Castle's office, and then she will use you as a filler if the Republicans or the Democrats don't put out enough candidates of their own. So that's how the judging and watching process works. And it's fascinating. We've come a long way. In my first election, we counted all ballots by hand.
Oh my
They
God.
were all paper ballots, and we posted the results up in that window at 12:30. So anyway, we've seen a lot of changes, but if you want to get involved, just get a hold of Mel Castle's office, and she will take your information, and we would love to see you come help us with this process. Next office is Commissioner, and so we will start with Truman Esmond, or no, Tyreen Cook is, yeah, Cook comes before Esmond. Yes. Easy last names. Okay. A large group of citizens in the Platte Canyon area would like to form a health services district. Would you support this effort?
Okay, so I don't think I need that. I've got a pretty big voice. I have that whole entire binder on the counter is all about the house service district. I have looked at the proposal from this side, from the Fairplay side, and I have spent about 2 hours talking to the current board of the Fairplay district just to see what they did versus what is happening over here. Bottom line, these are confusing districts, right? This has been a 3-year process, and since I haven't been fully involved in that 3-year process, here is what I'm gonna have to say. If you elect me as your commissioner, I would love to look over everything that you have, make sure it doesn't violate, the state statutes. And if everything that I see is good to go, why would we not put it on the ballot is kind of where I am at. It's a very complicated process, but I would be willing to look at it, obviously, and make sure it checks all the boxes and push it forward.
Okay. I'm going to present a topic, and then I have 3 questions on that topic.
Back to school.
The Land and Water Trust Fund sales tax, which we pay in this area, is a 1% tax that brings in about $2.2 million per year. It's collected by zip code 80421. The Platte Canyon area collects approximately 40% of the total in Park County for that tax. Would you support spending 40% of the total gathered on this side of the county?
I have to be very honest, I'm not very well educated on that particular district. I think that there is money to be had there. I think that, yes, there should be an appropriate amount of money spent over here. This is the largest district in the county, right? There's, 10,000 people who live here. And I honestly feel that there should be appropriations over here to put some of that money over here. 40%, I don't know what that would look like, right? But yes, this is the most majority of where that tax money comes from. It does need to be delivered here at a substantial rate.
Okay. Should the money be used for things like beetle kill and fire mitigation efforts? And
Well-
this is from what's called the Land and Water Trust Fund in Park County. That's administered by a
a separate board under the county commissioners.
Okay.
Just so you folks are aware of what we're talking about.
Well, it's land, and that is fire mitigation, and I am the wife of a fire chief. So, you are looking at the right person to support that. I believe in fire mitigation 100%. And if that's, I don't know what their bylaws say, I do obviously need to get a little bit more educated in that and what that money is supposed to go to and what it can't go for. But if it doesn't state that, why couldn't that be a ballot measure where we add that in and have the people vote that that money can go for fire mitigation and beetle kill? My property, I have several trees on my property right now that are mostly dead because of the beetle kill. That kills me. And that's a lot of work to cut that down and get rid of it, and especially when we're in burn ban, 50% of our life here. So yes, I would support that.
The trust fund is something that was established by you as voters many years ago, and they do have their own set of bylaws that they work under, and then they make recommendations back to the county commissioners. And so that's where these questions are coming from, on how that money should be spent. The last question on that topic is, what other types of projects would you support using this trust fund?
Well, like I said, I'm not very well versed in that. I would like to see, this is probably against the grain of your question a little bit, but could we pull some of that money towards different areas in the county to support different areas, possibly, right? Do a vote, pull a quarter of that to a quarter of that 1% to support the sheriff's office or road and bridge. But there's lots of amazing things that we could do with that money. We could do parks and walkways and gardens and stuff that would also bring in some tourists, right? Some things that would attract people to come here, and then they can and really enjoy being a part of Bailey, but Park County as well. So I would have to look up that a little bit better because I'm not very well versed on what else that money could be spent on, but I will do the research.
And I'm glad I'm not answering questions in public. Hearing them beforehand. So thank you. The last question, please give 3 key objectives that you would like to see implemented in Park County.
Well, there's a lot of infighting that is currently happening, and I'm really struggling with that. I don't think that we have to fight or be disrespectful or rude, and I really think that that really needs to be changed. We need to be able to have a county where you can come in and talk to me as a person, right? Where my door is always open, where any of these guys' door is always open, and we can be presented as your typical everyday human. Other objectives, we need to figure out funding for roads, and the third would be probably for sheriffs, right? I've looked at these things that the people in Park County are mostly, worried about, upset about, and it's the roads, and it's the sheriff's office. Back there on my table, I have spent hours sitting down with elected officials, Monica, the sheriff, Nick in Road and Bridge. I have spent hours collecting data. I have researched data. I have presented to you guys in the true facts about what is happening in our county, where your money is coming to and not to. I hear a lot of things about why don't my property taxes pay to fund the roads? Well, your property taxes, not a single dime collected can go towards your roads. That's by state, it has to go towards to keep the lights on in the building. So I have just been collecting data, and I've been presenting it back there on my table. I have most of the data I have collected, and so really being more transparent, being open to the public, being, letting you guys know what is really truly happening with your tax dollars and being more presentable.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And it's going to be the same questions, not that you had a chance to think about that.
Not too much, but I appreciate that, Scott.
Yeah.
So, the first question was, a large group of citizens in Platte Canyon would like to form a health services district like they have in Fairplay. Would you support this effort?
Yeah, I would support the effort as it's brought forth properly in front of the board. I certainly see what has been brought forth as been properly brought forth. Surprised it hadn't been, over the number of times it's been brought forth, hasn't been approved. What the commissioners have brought forth as far as the Park County health plan seems very similar. The big difference being that it's under direct control of the commissioners. They would be able to appoint the committees and essentially have direct control over our new sovereign health district. So that's really the big difference that I saw in going through. But I certainly would support access to more health services in Park County and being all the different ways to go about doing that.
Thank you. The next one goes back to the Land and Water Trust Fund sales tax, $2.2 million a year. And we collect 40% of that 2.2 million on this side of the county. Would you support spending approximately 40% of that over here?
It's a completely legitimate perspective, and certainly that would be logical to do that, certainly as it relates to infrastructure and to the population delivery. I don't know the watersheds. My guess is just based on the Park County topology, that a lot of the watersheds that are being protected are on the other side as well, for the benefit of the folks on the Bailey side as well. So I don't know exactly where it would be spent, but certainly a 40%, if not even higher based on the population percentage, could be even a reasonable position to take.
Should the money be used for efforts like beetle kill and fire mitigation?
And I think if the bylaws support it, absolutely. I come from fire in a different perspective than actually a wildfire, but for the last, for the last 25 years, I've been developing systems around risk, specifically catastrophic risk, and more recently around wildfire risk. For the last 10 years, I was working with one of the two companies that makes the wildfire scores, or fire scores in particular, the smaller one of the two. And with that company, we were able to do major innovations in data, speed, accuracy, and accountability. So your insurance can work as fast and as accurately and as dynamically as like your bank account, maybe even your politicians in the future. But that's the idea, is to be able to make those information systems more accountable and dynamic, and certainly investing in reducing the debt of wildfire fuels we have would be a good investment to make.
And what other types of projects might you support out of that pocket of money?
All the things that benefit the community, and certainly the wildfire is a big one. That is a major affordability risk, as we hear about people's insurance rates going up, things being canceled, and generally just making it a more difficult place to live and maintaining a home here. Other investments, again, according to the bylaws and the board, the trust fund board, according to what would be valuable, but certainly things around economic development and making our natural resources more attractive, investing in the watersheds, protecting them, and really building up a better economic base. I'm not sure that's exactly the purpose for the Land and Water Trust Fund, but if we don't want to raise taxes, we need to get economic activity from other places.
Okay, and then finally, please give 3 key objectives you would like to see implemented in Park County.
So the first one, you've heard a lot about accountability, and the first one is really community engagement. Transparency is a great start, but it's really about understanding, listening, and delivering the information to folks when they need it so they can take the right action. And that brings accountability back to the board, not just for elections, which I hope we can introduce this time, but between elections, on every issue, every community, every family, every business, every day. Bring that information back to the community so you know what's going on, what the board's priorities are, the board knows what your priorities are, and they're working on them, and you know what's happening. That's the only way we can build public trust again. We can have meetings like potlucks and policy discussions instead of pitchforks and torches.
Thank you. That brings us to the coroner office, and David Kins again. Only 2 questions for you.
I'll try to make it through.
What are your top 3 goals, and how can you rearrange your department to accomplish those goals within your budget?
Well, right now, my top three for the next 4 years, first of all, is continuing education. and research. We're partnered with Colorado Mesa University. We're the only like partnership in the country. There are 9 human research facilities, forensic research facilities in the country. We are home to one of them. And so we're partnered with Colorado Mesa University. We're the only place where that happened. We want to continue that partnership, and we want to expand in the next 4 years that research getting out to not only our office, which we use the data we're getting on a daily basis in our investigations, but getting that information out into other hands. And I speak at different organizations and stuff about what we're learning, but so that other coroners, other medical examiners, other law enforcement officers and stuff can learn what we are learning about the Rocky Mountain region and get that data so that they're doing their investigations, they're more thorough. And so that'd be for the entire Rocky Mountain region of North America. So that's one of the things we want to go. And right now we don't have to restructure our department for that. The university and us work really well with that. There's just more to do. So that's one of the things I want to see focused on. The other thing is we want to continue our goal of expanding our care team and the services that they offer. And again, that's a restructuring of our volunteers. So as I told you earlier, 23 people in my department, 18 of those are currently volunteers, and they are in every corner of the county. So I want to continue those people and their great ideas of formulating, evolving that team, which is a very unique team. There's not many teams around like that. And developing that support in the immediate aftermath of a death for family, for survivors, for friends, for witnesses, and for the first responders that are on those scenes and that are dealing with those things in the aftermath. So we want to continue that goal of developing that into a bigger and better and more robust resource for our community. And the third thing, this is where the trick comes in, under our budget. Can't be done. We have run out of space at the coroner's office. We were put into a temporary situation almost 14 years ago. It was a 5-year max temporary solution for the county morgue. We're 14 years in, and we're still sitting in that spot. And the horrible temporary solution we came up with is sitting in the parking lot, and I hate it. Unfortunately, that's where we are with trying to get money. With the budget I have, I cannot build a new facility unless somehow I have a magic wand and mine is broke. So if you got one, let me know. But that's something we need to do. We're working on grants. We're working on congressional funding. We're working on every possible aspect that we can possibly work on to do the most effective building for an expanded morgue for Park County for the long term. What we're dealing with right now, we're getting by. We are fully accredited, which means auditors come and go through everything we do, but we are right on the cusp because of our facility. So that is the goal for the next 4 years. We have to have an improved facility. I have been working with people internal and external of the county to come to those goals, and we've made a lot of progress, but we are a long ways away. And on the budget as it currently sits, there's not a way that I can do that, but we are gonna find a way. I don't know what it is yet, but we are still running for one federal grant, we are running for congressional spending, and I'm pushing the bandwagon every day internally with the current Board of County Commissioners too, that we have to make this a priority, because this is not something we just go, we don't have place, sorry, put them on ice. It sounds funny, but it's not. I hear a joke all the time, and I'm starting to get offended. Seriously. And so this is a serious matter the county has to take. We can't go, oh, this is a luxury. No, this is a need. And so in the next 4 years, I want to see that done.
If you win the lottery later this week, go to parkcountyco.gov and you can find a place to send some And the second question, the acronym CARE, C-A-R-E. Please tell us about the CARE program.
Okay, so the CARE program. We came up with the idea of the CARE program, 2015, 14, somewhere in there, 13, maybe. I've been around a long time. We looked at a program out of South Carolina, and they came and presented to the International Association of Coroners, which I was present at, and listened to their presentation. And I said, we've been talking about something like this. We just didn't know it had a name. And there was a few offices in the East Coast that had similar things. So we took what they had built, we took what we had thought about, and we developed this team. So it used to be that victims advocates, some of which are in the room, responded to deaths 24 hours a day. Well, with their obligations, they're mostly grant funded, and their obligations to crime, to paperwork, to the victims of crime is just growing every single year. More and more responsibilities put on them, and it became tougher and tougher for them to be able to provide that support for a death that's not criminal at all hours of the night. And as our caseload continued to grow, that became harder and harder. So we found a way to bring volunteer corps underneath the coroner's office. So today we're at 18 volunteers. They are the best people in the county, hands down, bar none. I'll put them up against anybody. They are there through the worst times. If it's 2 in the morning or 2 in the afternoon, they go with us to all notifications when we tell someone that a loved one has died, and they're there with us when we're doing the investigation. So in the immediate aftermath, right after you've lost someone. That's the hardest time. It may be someone who's inconsolable. It also may be someone who you sit with and don't say a word. And 2 of my victims, I'm gonna point you out here, they were victims advocates, and we spent a lot of time on scenes over the years. They saw this when the VAs were doing it. It is a tough job, a very tough job. And so to bring those volunteers together, we put a lot into their training. We have a fundraiser here every single year that Chip at the Cutthroat actually came up with the idea to help fund a little bit of their training and their equipment that they need to be volunteers. And we do that every near Halloween. Chip's idea, we were good with it. And that group of volunteers is there 24 hours a day when there's a death in the county to support the survivors and the family around it. So probably the biggest accomplishment we have locally to help people.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Chip's profits help support that department, his products do not. Okay, same questions. First, what are your top 3 goals and how can you do that within your current budget?
Well, I've been managing technical teams for 30 years now. Everything from tiny little groups of engineers at startups to larger technical teams at the biggest companies in the world. Every team I've taken over, I have made a point of making sure that I don't come on with an agenda. There are a lot of people who have one particular way that they want to run things, that they want to do things. And my experience is that you always show up and the problems are never the ones that you saw coming. You have to be there in the team, as our current coroner has been, to realize where your weaknesses are, where your strengths are, where you can cut and where you need to expand. I mean, I know that the coroner's budget is about as tight as they come. And I'm not gonna stand up here and say, oh, we're gonna eliminate staff. No, absolutely not. And the answer might actually be just fighting for more budget for an incredibly important department that this county, it's one of the things this county does really well, right? So I have no specific list of 3.
Okay. And then what can you tell us about the CARE program and your...
I mean, I know this is bad campaigning, but I have nothing but praise for what the coroner has done with the CARE team. I mean, I guess to put it in insufferable business jargon, there's, I know that our coroner's office, we are not medical examiners, we're not pathologists. We outsource a huge amount of the technical work that goes on, right? But there's a saying that you should never outsource the core competencies and the core touch points. And getting the community engaged in the most important part of what the coroner does, I think is an absolutely perfect choice, and I wouldn't change a thing.
Okay, thank you. So, we're now down to the sheriff's office. We'll hear from Mark Noel first.
All right, what you got?
3 questions. Can you tell us about your community involvement in this county, and specifically what local groups you might have been a part of?
Yes, and unfortunately, I have not been nearly as active as I would have liked to have been in the last few years because of working on a startup and getting acquired and moving that along. I have tried to stay as engaged with some of the local groups, especially the Democratic Party, where I've made a lot of friends here in the county. But one of the things that I was hoping to be able to do, and one thing that I think may end up being something that is going to be important for the sheriff's office in general, is the reserves, the posse. Just as the volunteers have been able to step up and help with a lot of the core work at the coroner's office, given the shortage of resources and people that we have, and until we can grow revenue to fund higher salaries and more positions, we're probably going to need to grow more volunteers. And that's actually one thing that I would like to help out with as an expert on legal technology. There's certain things that I could probably provide in the realm of digital evidence for the sheriff's office.
Second question, if you were elected, have you given any thought to who your undersheriff would be and what qualifies them for that position?
Yes, I have, and it would probably be bad campaigning for me to say anything like that. But in general, what we need is somebody who has the institutional knowledge and has the relationships with everybody within the sheriff's office and the courts and everyone else that we interact with in order to help keep everything running as smoothly as possible. One of the key things when you come into a new position, you know, like if you're in a new leadership position, is for goodness sakes, don't change anything for at least 3 months, because you have no idea how everything works and who is the most important linchpin there. So in a lot of these cases, what any personnel or staffing changes would be absolutely minimal until we got to the point where we could make very informed data-driven decisions on any changes that we need to make.
Last question, what are your top 3 goals and how can you accomplish that within your budget?
Well, one of the goals is increasing the budget. So it kind of doesn't mesh with the premise of the question. But seriously, one of the things that I talked about earlier is that there are a lot of things that we may be able to do creatively using techniques from other, some technology-based solutions. Been working on some really insane stuff over the last few years. But also more volunteer involvement in areas that, where we can find volunteers who can fill roles that are needed by the sheriff's office. But at some point, you have to raise revenue. You can only use tricks and solutions and baling wire and duct tape to hold stuff together for so long because, as we've been hearing, the population is growing. The amount of crime cases that the victims' advocates have to handle are growing. At some point, you're going to have more resources. And that means more deputies, more unsworn staff, better pay for your staff so that they don't work for you for 2 or 3 years and then leave for an adjacent jurisdiction that pays better and where they can afford to live. So at some point, we have to figure out how we're going to do this. And if not through the county commission, then the alternatives have to be working with the state government, grants, private sector stuff, federal government grants, anything that we can get that's going to help bolster the resources that the office has to work with. But that means that we're going to have to reach out beyond the county and work with other people, including people in the state legislature or in Congress who we may not necessarily agree with on everything, but reasonable people can figure something out. So budget is the big one. I mentioned another one, which is the pay and benefits for the staff. We're not competitive still, and that's a problem. Retention is a problem, and one of the things that you have to do is you have to be able to create, first you have to pay people appropriately and give them appropriate benefits. They need to be able to live near where they're going to work, and you also want to provide training and professional development opportunities to them so that they feel like they're actually growing and doing something useful and contributing back to the community. I think we've already heard that a lot of people in the sheriff's office right now already value training and especially stuff beyond just the state level. It's really crucial to create a culture among all of the staff at the sheriff's office that is going to help us retain the best people rather than losing them to adjacent jurisdictions as soon as they get a new opportunity, because this is a problem that will affect all of us and our ability And then the third priority, again, I mentioned in the context of raising revenue, and that is we have to develop more connections outside the county. The priority is always got to be protecting our neighbors. But at some point, if we don't have the resources to deliver completely on that mission, again, we can use baling wire and duct tape only so far. At some point, we have to see what we can get from private sector, from state government, from partnering with other agencies, from partnering with other jurisdictions, anything else like that. And so a lot of the priority is going to have to be figuring out new ways to bring resources in to help bolster our work.
Thank you. Again, that was Mark Knoll, and now we will hear from Steve Spodiak. So back to the first question, can you tell us about your community involvement and what local groups you've been a part of?
Sure. Well, first of all, my everyday job is currently your undersheriff here, so I'm involved in the community that way. And as I talked a little bit during my introduction, some of the things that I've done with the sheriff's office here, you know, starting at the basically the bottom of the organization as a detention deputy and a patrol deputy, and working my way up with an absence in between. But outside of, you know, what I do for a living, I've been involved with the Republican Party here in Park County. I'm currently a precinct person. I was involved with the Republican Party 8 years ago. But some of the things that I'm involved in that I really think make a big difference and that I think would be important for you all are the things that I do with the kids here in the community in Bailey. So I coach middle school basketball. I'm currently the head boys middle school basketball coach. I've also coached middle school girls basketball. I've been involved with Platte Canyon Little League for about 10 years. I'm no longer in that role, but I served as the president of the board. I served as the vice president of Platte Canyon Little League, as an umpire coordinator. I volunteered my time to umpire Little League baseball games. I also help out with the school district here with some of their athletic programs. I drive an activity bus for middle school sports, so for like the football team and the baseball team, and of course my team, the basketball team. But I also volunteer time to make sure that the chain gangs are organized and running for the football teams, both high school and middle school. So you can't have a full officiating crew for a football game without the chain gang out there. So I would imagine I'm probably forgetting some things. 4-H. Well, somebody said 4-H, and I can't really take a whole lot of credit for that because that's my kids. Now, of course, you know, as they grow, they're able to do more. But when they're younger, sure, you got to help them out as a parent. But as far as an official community involvement role with a title or anything like that, I've just been a dad. So so those are some of the things that I think are important. I talk to business owners and folks within the community. There's faces in this room that I've known most of my life, and that's something that sets me apart from any other candidate in this race, regardless of which side of the aisle you're on. I've been here. I know how things work, and as far as being your sheriff, I'm ready to hit the ground running. I've heard a couple of times you don't want to change anything right off of the bat, and I've learned that through my leadership training as well. But in the position that I'm in, I would be able to come in and start making changes because I already know what's going on.
When a law enforcement officer says chain gang, my mind went.
So you're saying what we have here is a failure to communicate.
Different perspectives. And have you given any thought to who your undersheriff will be and what qualifies them?
So yes, I've given a lot of thought to that topic, and you're going to be disappointed, but that's not something that I'm willing to share with you today. And a big part of the reason is I don't have my mind completely made up. The election is far from being won, in my opinion, and if you actually, you look at Colorado revised statute, it tells us that a sheriff is not to appoint an undersheriff until they take office. So, but as an undersheriff and having been an undersheriff for the last 7.5 years here in Park County, I really understand what this job is about, and it's not the same for every agency. That my job here in Park County is vastly different from the undersheriff in Jefferson County. It's also vastly different from some of the really small agencies like Hinsdale County, where they only have a handful of folks working within the sheriff's office altogether. You know, we're considered a medium-sized law enforcement agency when you look nationally, but Park County is over 2,200 square miles. It's a big place with a lot of open territory, and there's not too many ways where you can go straight from point A to point B, as you all know from living here. So the undersheriff is a hugely important role within the organization, and it needs to be a good fit for the person. They're going to have to fit with the existing personnel. They're going to have to be someone who is trusted or comes in with a resume, if it's not someone from within the agency, that has the credentials to allow that trust to be built quickly, because an undersheriff in an agency this size is responsible for making everything happen. So that's an advantage, and something that I'm looking forward to as a sheriff is moving from the role of the guy who's making sure that everything gets done and the I's get dotted and the T's get crossed, to being the guy who ideas are being able to be executed.
Okay, and then your top 3 goals and how to accomplish those within the budget.
Well, I could say appointing an undersheriff, but I'm not gonna take that.
The current guy is going somewhere? No.
Well, hopefully, in my opinion, yes. Hopefully, the current guy is going somewhere. But the first priority for me would be to modify the culture, and I don't want to say to change the culture, because I've been hearing a lot of rumblings about how the culture within the sheriff's office currently is poor, and I don't believe that is the case. And we're not such a big agency that I'm out of touch with what's going on with our folks, because I'm not. I talk to them every day. But there does need to be change, right? An organization or an organism cannot survive if it doesn't adapt and overcome. We're at a point now where there's going to be change. Regardless of who you vote for in the primaries and in the general election this year, you're going to have a new sheriff. I don't think the change needs to be as extreme as it could be. And so one of my top priorities will be to create a new mission, a new vision, and new values for the sheriff's office, and implement those throughout the organization so that everything we are doing fits those and better serves you as the public. The second priority for me is funding, because like we've heard already today, funding is important, and you can't pay the bills without money. So one of the ways that I believe we can bring in some revenue that we're missing out on right now is reopening our jail. So reopening our jail better serves our community, it better serves our public, and right now the state is looking for places to house state inmates. So it's a potential, I don't want to say revenue, but it's a potential income stream that can help us offset some of our costs. In my view, a county jail is what you might call a necessary evil. It's something that we are required by statute to have, and it's something that helps provide public safety, because it gives us a place where people can be housed who may be a public safety risk. But in addition to that step, I would like to hire a grant manager and grant manager, because while state level grants are starting to dry up because the state has funding issues, right now there's a lot of federal money available, and this kind of ebbs and flows. Some years the state will have more money, some years the feds will have more money, but if we're able to get somebody within the sheriff's office that focuses on that, bringing in revenue that It may not last for years and years, but it may be something where we can supplement things and use money that's already in our budget to reallocate that. And the third thing for me is really, making sure that our people know that they're appreciated, because this job has gotten very difficult and has changed a lot in the 20 plus years that I've been doing it. When I first started, almost all communities were like Bailey is, where you're welcoming to your law enforcement. Most of the time, you're supportive of us and you like seeing us. But what we see on the news all the time is how horrible law enforcement, deputy sheriffs, police officers are treated across the nation. And so we need to make sure that we train our people well, but we also need to make sure that we're treating them so that they don't want to leave. They want to stay here. And one thing that we're not doing as well as we could have right now that goes along with this is seeking folks that are already here, seeking people, I guess similar to my background, who already have roots in these communities in Park County, who want to be here and know how to live here, because especially for younger folks, it can be hard to relocate here and try and figure out how to make it. How do I live here? How do I meet people? How do I make friends? And if we have an organization that focuses on people that are already invested here, you all are going to get much better service from the sheriff's office. So those would be my top 3 things to focus on when elected.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Last but not least is the treasurer's office, so Amy Flynn. Only 2 questions for you. Okay. What are the challenges your department faces?
The challenges our department faces. Legislature. That is the biggest thing, is what comes down that they want us to make happen, and it doesn't matter whether it's funded or not. It has to happen. That's the biggest one. Communication, maybe. I think communication to the community, not just small community. We have people who are national and international that own property in Park County. And that's a tough one to communicate when everybody's so far out. And don't tell us when they move. Right? Trying to think, I love my job and I love what we do. So it's hard to find those tough things, but those 2.
All right. And then, similar to the others, what are your top priorities for the department?
For the next 4 years, because the last 4 years, 3.5 years, I have learned. The next 4 years, I'd like to, number 1, do some public education. Go out to each community and hold forums, a lot like Dave's, I forget what you call them, but Evening with the Coroner, something like that. To just educate what we do, the important part of treasurer's deeds, tax lien sales, taxes themselves. Who do you reach out to for what questions? So public education. The second thing would be, of course, internal education, training. Our staff is small, 4 people, and we kind of bounce things off of each other anyway right now. I would like to cross-train so that everybody in the department knows at least 75% of the jobs. You can't know all of them, but we can certainly share the knowledge. I will say, when I came in, Kathleen Wilson was our chief deputy and still is, but did not take time off. She was working till 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, weekends. So my goal was to get her to where she can have a weekend, have weekends, period, and take some vacation time. Next month, she's gone for 2 weeks. And we are going to continue that. She loves to do her job, but she's got to share her job. So my goal is to get that girl to spread the knowledge, because she's a wealth of knowledge. So continuing education within the department. And then the third thing, again, is reducing our returned mail. We had 2,500 pieces of mail that came back, plus I'm sure, but they come back just from notices going out. I would like to utilize electronic forms more, get that out there to the community so we have e-notices going out. We don't waste so much paper, postage, all the craziness, and the phone calls that come in to say, where's my notice? Well, by golly, you know, half of it is, you didn't tell us. And the other is USPS. Nothing we can do about that, right? But I would like to reduce the return mail. It's huge for us. Those 3 things.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you all for your patience and your attention. We're just going to have just an open floor after this. Most of these folks will be on tables over on that side of the room. If you need more space, feel free to stay at this table, whatever you need to do. And you folks are free to wander and discuss anything that came up tonight or anything you brought with you tonight with any of these candidates. We appreciate your attendance tonight.